I think I exist in a space that I see a lot of people very concerned for the state of our country.
I prefer him over Andrew Cuomo.
One of the main things that a lot of people in our generation want to see is this push for younger leaders.
Even though you want to give everyone a cookie, not everybody's going to get a cookie with every ideology you want to have.
Welcome to Our National Conversation, a podcast in which we discuss politics from all angles. We are completely nonpartisan, and all views, respectfully stated, are welcome here. Our podcast is unique in that it is hosted and run by students who are focused on finding solutions to the biggest problems facing America.
I will say, even here at Our National Conversation, we've been at this now for 5 years, and we started right when the pandemic was starting. And at that time, it seemed like the group as a whole skewed very liberal, and there was a lot of kind of thought policing going on, where if you said something just a little bit incorrectly, or if I did anyway, I was known for being bad at that. The students would pounce on me quickly to let me know that, well, you can't say it this way, you got to say it that way, or you don't say it at all. And it felt a little oppressive to me. And then we got into the George Floyd era, and then there was all the emphasis on trans rights, and it just seemed like the conservatives in our group felt very isolated. And once Trump got reelected for the second time, I do feel a distinct shift. It seems now that the students are much more pragmatic and practical. They're worried about getting a job. They're worried about whether they're going to ever be able to own a home or not. They're worried about AI. They're worried about a lot of stuff. You guys are called the anxious generation, but you're also a powerful generation. You're about to become the biggest voting bloc of all, and the oldsters will get out of the way at some point. Uh, so I would like to just challenge you to say, what do you guys really stand for, and how are you going to uh, tackle all the problems that you're inheriting? Serena.
I just wanted to say, like, I self-identify as like a leftist or a liberal, and I wanted to say, like, I totally acknowledge um I think like the I want to say the policing was the word that was used of like getting it right. And I'd like to think, as somebody who I totally acknowledge that it's a problem, because I notice a lot of, in at least online, at least I think it happens less when I'm having conversations in real life. But definitely online, I see this like huge move to, like, you need to get it completely correct. And if you get it wrong, people get very upset instead of allowing people to change and read and improve. And I see that as a huge issue that's happening on the left, that's definitely isolating and like isolating some people, of course. But I think it's all in an attempt to like get it right. And I think in addition, I like I don't know if this is just me, but I think I exist in a space that I see a lot of people very concerned for the state of our country, uh, and concerned for the current administration that's happening, which again it could be an isolated thing, but I don't know if I'm seeing a huge sweep in conservatives necessarily, but um, it could be just like the demographic of the place I'm living in.
Where do you live, Serena?
I live just outside of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania.
Well, Pennsylvania is fairly conservative, really. It's kind of a swing state. It can go either way. You've got a
How
Democratic governor right
it's
now.
how it's described in at least my state is it's kind of Pennsylvania, or Pennsylvania, excuse me. It's Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and then it's like countryside in the middle between the two.
All
So,
right. So tomorrow, not too far from you, in New York City, we have a mayoral contest. We have Zohran Mamdani. Uh, he seems to be grabbing a lot of headlines these days, especially among younger folks. What do you guys think of this guy?
I prefer him over Andrew Cuomo.
Um, I think part of the reason why he's grabbing so many young people's attention is because of a lot of the values he stands for is speaking for the concerns of the youth, like the housing problem, especially in New York. I think that's something he touches on a lot. And I think these sort of issues are what young people, especially like our generation, are really looking for in a leader. And I have listened to a few interviews with him on the daily and those sort of platforms. And I think he's very well spoken and really does try to connect with his target audience. So I think he definitely is able to gain a lot of traction and support just through like public speaking and really going out there and listening to what the people in his city want.
Do you think he'll be effective? A lot of people say it all sounds great, but to give people free buses, bus rides, setting up a bunch of state-run grocery stores, um, taxing the rich, et cetera, it could actually drive people out of New York.
I think it definitely could drive people out of New York, but I also think one of the main things that a lot of people in our generation want to see is this push for younger leaders. I think personally, for me at least, I'm Democrat and left leaning, and I think one of the main things that people want are leaders who are going to understand our needs instead of older generations more. And I do think that if he is able to pull it off or gain enough support for it, that it could be something that is very, I want to say like monumental, I guess, in a way, and could pave the way for many other states.
Great. Danny, you're next.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really agree with Ava, and I also consider it almost to be. I mean, I'm I guess lucky, I guess in this way I can say from California. It kind of seems like a social experiment I'm seeing, because he does he's being referred to as a socialist a lot of the time in the media I see. And so I think it's nice because being in Gen Z and why he's getting so much attention from us is he's not the status quo. He's not from either side specifically. And the more of the focus is about money than it is about ideologies. Because I think something big with our generation is we are looking at the economic disparities and gaps within our economy, within where the wealth is held, way more than we are worried about what people are saying anymore. Because it's almost like by all the outrage over the last 8 years, we've kind of become desensitized to being so shocked at the awful things people can say and do that our focus has shifted more into fixing economic problems. And if that means experimenting to see what outcomes can come from it, we're willing to take that risk. Especially as Ava said, with younger leaders. I find it funny when I mean, I can speak with my grandparents and whatnot, and they say they're voting for my future. But if we have opposing views, if this is not the future I want, you can't really say that because you're voting on your principle rather than mine. So by having people who are running with the next generation or to have younger leaders representing the younger generation and us entering the workforce and, it's all our taxes going to be paying Social Security and whatnot to have a system set up that we prefer um, is, I think, ideal with a younger leader.
Alexandra.
Yeah, well, in regards to the New York election, I think that there is a very good chance Mandavi will win. My personal opinion on it is, as someone who has actually worked in New York for a short time and seen the people and kind of experienced the life firsthand, I do feel like there's a very strong chance of him winning, especially with the younger generation. However, I personally don't really agree with a lot of his policies. Like, for instance, Jeff, you were talking about the buses. Now, I think that, and I think a lot of people have realized that opening the buses to everyone could create some problems. Now, in theory, it sounds like a great idea, but when you put it up practically, it could create problems with homelessness as just another housing center and would make transport much more difficult to get around. And I think there are a few policies that he's been presenting like that a lot of people don't particularly like. One thing that I have noticed with him is that he does lean more as a socialist, and he has been pushing socialist ideas. Now, personally, I don't really agree with the socialism ideology as a whole, but I can absolutely understand why a lot more younger generations, especially Gen Z, have been siding with socialism, especially since over the years it's been pushed in schools and promoted by liberals and Democrats and the education system in general, and has been viewed very favorably yeah, around younger generations. And I think a lot of that ties into the fact that younger generations, there's a saying that when you're young, socialism sounds like a great idea, but as you get older, you start to side more with capitalism as you start to experience the real world. And I think that's because in practice, socialism doesn't really work in the world. It creates a lot of problems and disparity, and it just really doesn't open up a lot of options for people. I mean, in theory, a lot of people think that it would make things fair, but practically, it just demotivates people. It causes problems economically, and it doesn't really open up a lot of options. And with Mandabi, he talks very nice, but I think a lot of his problems have been stemming from just not having a good sense of the world around him, as he has been, I believe, born into a rather rich family, coming here, having a very privileged life, and progressing up in the political sphere and promoting all of these ideologies without really working in the real world and seeing how it works in reality, especially since he's also just seems like a type of person that has been a bit dishonest in a lot of the things he said. Like recently, he said in a speech that he was his grandmother after 9/11, or his aunt, excuse me, felt very unsafe after the terror attack to go onto a subway or ride buses around town in her hijab, even though she didn't even live in America. And he said that he was actually talking about his cousin. So I don't know. To me, he seems like the type of person that could be very popular with younger generations, but in practice, I don't think that he's the best for New York, though I think that with New York, it's a place that has always leaned very liberal and left wing, so I think there's a good chance that he will probably win if I had to guess.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about California. Tomorrow, during the election, we have something called Proposition 50. It's an attempt by the Democrats to kind of level the playing field with Republicans who are doing a lot of gerrymandering around the country. It seemed to start in Texas and then spread like a wave from there. And if California Democrats are successful, they'll be able to nullify about five Republican convention seats, congressional seats. And I don't know, it seems like a lot of people don't like the proposition because, they don't like gerrymandering in general, but they feel like, if we don't do anything as Democrats, then, the Republicans will just take over and Trump will rise in power and it'll be bad for the Democrats. Danny.
I will say gerrymandering, no matter what size does it, is manipulative to get votes. So it's not that when one party does it's okay and the other it's not. Um, my thinking on this though, as someone that's independent, that is left leaning, um, it is important that, every small little number counts. And, with California, we do see the popular vote usually going to being liberal, but small things count like this, especially when I guess, this loss has been with the last election was much bigger and different than past ones. Like Trump won a lot, and it took the House, it took Senate, presidency. So I think Democrats are concerned about if they don't do anything by even just the smallest margins, that they believe this election they would just be okay just because of how things have been in the past with voting. Um, but I believe that with the current election coming, that, excuse me, I lost my train of thought there. With
Actually, let's go there.
Thank you.
So you say with the next election coming, are you talking about 2026?
Uh, or sorry, not next election, but this next voting cycle coming but yeah, with the next election coming too, I think our the current California governor is also trying to make sure he does things get under his belt, because also with 2028 he's going for the presidency as well. So I think he's trying to make moves that make him a significant candidate in the Democratic Party. So I think that's why this is happening now. Um, but I don't think the gerrymandering will make that much of a difference with how politics have kind of gone for right now, because I think something I'll say as someone that is Democrat leaning, that I heard someone say this online and I thought it was true. Something that the Republicans have right is that even though you want to give everyone a cookie, not everybody is going to get a cookie with every ideology you want to have. Whereas Democrats, we've come to a standstill of nobody can really agree, and our party has become divided in itself because we can't accept that not even though you want to give everybody a cookie, not everybody can get a cookie, kind of thing.
Okay, let's talk about 2026. The House of Representatives is up for grabs. It's going to be a close call. Uh, the Senate seems to be leaning more Republican right now, but who knows? That could shift too. Some people think that if the Republicans keep pushing things as assertively as they have been, it's going to create a backlash on the left, and that people will rise up to vote in order to reintroduce checks and balances to keep Trump more under control. What do you guys think? What would you like to see happen? Errol, are you raising your hand?
Yeah, I'd say it. Oh,
Go ahead,
okay.
Errol.
Yeah, I would hope that even though I do lean conservative, that it won't go to the majority, just because we've seen that under Trump, too many things can happen that can't be reversed. So we don't want to set this as a permanent. It's just setting the stage for like a very bad. I mean, even though I'm conservative, I just don't. I'm very against there being a single party, and it seems like Trump is kind of like pushing that way. Um, some people don't believe it, some people do, but yeah. So I really hope that he would not the majority house would stay more bipartisan, but we'll see what happens. I am not too hopeful about it though.